everyone, welcome to Backstory Sessions. I'm your host Matt. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey everybody, it's Kat, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Backstory Sessions. I'm joined today by my co-host, Matt. Hey, Matt.
Hey Kat, hey everyone, how are you?
Exciting episode today. Probably one of the few. I think we did do one other one where we had a guest across the pond.
Yeah, another drummer as well.
It's pretty interesting. I think that we tend to have a lot of drummers be our guest.
Yeah, this is like the, third or fourth one now?
Yeah, I think so. We've got the beat, I guess, or something.
Something like that.
This particular drummer is really fascinating, and ELO. So he's a drummer for ELO. Electric Light Orchestra, for some people may not be familiar with them, but I always liked their music, but even in preparing for this interview, I got to revisit a whole lot of songs that I had forgotten over time.
Yeah, there are certainly a few that I saw that like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, did you have a favorite ELO song?
I wouldn't say a favorite. I mean, there are a couple that were really good, like Turn to Stone, and they're just, yeah, there's been a few, but I wouldn't say like I had one favorite over another.
Well, our poll in the group, "Don't Bring Me Down," was the winner for favorite ELO song. So,
interesting. Do you remember how many votes there were for that one?
I don't, but it was really close there for a while. My favorite is "Sweet Talking Woman." But those were kind of neck and neck for a bit. And then "Don't Bring Me Down" took off. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
so our guest was also in Black Sabbath for a time.
yes, and so that's two very different musical styles, and two very popular groups. So
Yeah.
he's had a fascinating career.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we should probably talk to him and find out more.
All right, this is going to be Bev Bevan.
All right, here we go.
Bev Bevan, I want to welcome you to Backstory Sessions. It's such an honor to have you as our guest today.
That's very kind. I'm glad to be your guest today. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So, there's so many questions I have for you. I feel like it's like talking to rock and roll history. So I guess the first thing is drums in general. How did you know that was going to be your instrument?
Yeah, that was a nice thing that happened. I was at when I was back in school in my last year of school when I was like 16, and they wanted to form a school band, and we got a guitarist and a singer, and someone else said, "Oh, I'll be the bass player," and I just said, "I'll be the drummer," and I'd never played drums in my life or had any idea, but I went out and actually I went home and told my mum. My dad had died when I was 10 years old, so I never knew him that well. So it was just my mum. I've got no brothers or sisters either. And I told her that I wanted it to buy a new drum kit, and it was a lot of money, really. It was £35, which back then was like a lot of money. And my mum immediately said yes, and we weren't wealthy by any means. It came as a real shock that she agreed so readily. So I got the drum kit, and we started rehearsing in the shop where we lived. And it was only when we got good enough to start doing shows at our local youth club that my mum told me that my dad used to be a drummer, and he had a dance band in sort of the war years, and his name was Charles Thomas Bevan, but he was nicknamed Bev. It was the Bev Bevan Trio, and that's how I got my name as well from that. So it was a lovely surprise.
That's amazing, really. So you had no idea that your dad had been a successful drummer.
So, not at all. I remember I found a pair of bongos in the attic one day. That might have been a bit of a clue, but there was no drum kit in the house or anything, so I don't know what happened to all that. But yeah, that's how it happens for me, and I just found it very natural. It came easily to play. I never had a lesson. Just made it up as I went along, really.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering, maybe because your mom said yes so readily, maybe that's because she knew already that you probably had that talent.
Yeah, I mean, my mum went, she died a long time ago, but she was around, in the heyday of ELO, and she saw me play at Wembley and places like that. But I hope my dad is looking down and that he saw that his son took after him as well.
Yes, that would be great. And so when you start this band, how does it go? I mean, so you're your first time drummer, and is everybody else kind of
we were it's just a little school, but I mean, this is the early '60s, and there must have been hundreds of bands doing the same sort of thing, and this is before the Beatles, and it was I just fell in love with American rock and roll music, Elvis and the Everly Brothers and Ray Charles and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis. That up till then, music had been really bland, but when I heard American rock and roll records, that's when I decided that's what I wanted to do. Just be in a band and play music, and that's. I'm really privileged. I'm still playing now in my band Quill, and I spent my whole life doing what I wanted to do.
Wow. So from the school band, what is your next big break? So where do you go from there?
Well, I did have a job for 1 year at a departmental store in Birmingham, and while I was there, I attended a night school class as well to do with buying and selling stuff, and I bumped into a guy, Denny Lane, and he'd seen my little band play, and he liked the way I played, and he said, let's form a band together, and we called it Denny Lane and the Diplomats, and we were really quite successful in about we got ourselves a recording deal. We never actually ended up making a record, but we got very popular, particularly in the Midlands where we lived, and we opened for Little Stevie Wonder. We opened for the Rolling Stones, but our biggest sort of day in our career was opening for the Beatles in 1963 when it was Beatlemania. They just released, I think, She Loves You, and it just, and they were such nice guys. They were so friendly and talking to us. And it just made me feel stronger and stronger that, that's what I wanted to do. But then Denny left the band the following year and formed the Moody Blues. And then, of course, coincidentally, after opening for the Beatles, he went on to join Wings.
Wow. Did you have any idea that you were going to do so well when you first started with Jenny Lane and the Diplomats? Did you feel like that was gonna?
No, I didn't. We still keep in touch. Actually, he lives in Florida now, but we keep in touch. And but he was like the most ambitious guy I'd ever met, and I think some of it rubbed off on me, and the rest of the band went back to doing regular jobs, and when the Diplomats split up. But I carried on, and within a year or so, we formed The Move, which became a very successful band, particularly in Britain, in Europe. We had 10 big hit singles in the UK. We never really got to America when we should have done. We should have gone in the late 60s. Well, about 67 we should have gone. And we ended up going in 69 for just one 3-week tour. But it was and that's when I realised that I was in a really good band. The Move were a very strong band. I think I got better and better playing drums, and it was great to be in such a tight group.
So is after that when ELO, is that when you joined ELO, or?
Yeah, they crossed over really. We had a few lineup changes, and the final one was when myself and Roy Wood invited Jeff Lynne to be part of the Move, and he agreed, but only. But he said from the start that he wasn't really interested in being in the Move. He wanted to form a new band, and the Move sort of helped finance this new band, which turned out to be ELO. In fact, at one stage in 1972, we actually had a top 20 hit with the Move, top 10 hit with the Move called California Man, and at the same time we had a hit with 10538 Overture by ELO. So that was again to be in the charts at the same time with two different bands. That's a bit special too.
Wow. So we're ELO, who named the band. Where'd you come up with that?
It was Roy Wood who named the band, and it wasn't ELO. I mean, it was called Electric Light Orchestra, and that was the name of the band. But it just obviously got shortened to ELO. It was, a lot easier to say that. And Roy Wood didn't last very long. We did one British tour. I think we did a tour of Italy, and then Roy left. Said it wasn't working out the way he expected, and he formed a band called Wizard, which was incredibly successful in the UK, a couple of number ones. And Jeff Lynne and myself and Richard Tandy, we basically reformed ELO, and we kind of made a point of not doing what the Move had done and ignoring America. We sort of, if anything, concentrated on America, and we did tour after tour after tour, and built up a reputation in the USA. Had our first big hit album, El Dorado, was a gold album in America. Didn't chart at all in England. And our first big hit single, Can't Get It Out of My Head, was a big hit in the USA. And again, it didn't chart in the UK. And we just sort of went from strength to strength, really, playing bigger and bigger places.
What was the How old were you when you first toured the U.S. with ELO?
That's a good question. The first tour was in '73, I think, so I'd have been 19.
Wow, what was that like for you? I mean, I know you said you had
Oh no,
done.
no, sorry, I'm getting my maths wrong. No, I would have been 29. That's
Okay.
right. Yeah, and it was amazing. So we've been to America once before with the move
Right.
for like 3 weeks. But saying that, that was an amazing 3 weeks because we did Detroit with Iggy and the Stooges. We did 5 nights of the Whiskey a Go Go,
Wow.
and people like the Carpenters came to see us, and the Doors, and Joni Mitchell came to see us.
Wow.
And then we did 3 or 4 nights at the Fillmore West, opening for Little Richard and Joe Cocker.
Wow.
So it was a fabulous 3 weeks that we did back then in '69. But with the move, it was just it was magical just seeing that,
Yeah.
having hits in America and starting to see ourselves on American TV, like Midnight Special, things like that. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
The Midnight Special. I remember watching that back in the
It was
day.
a great show. We sort of hosted it once, and I remember Linda Ronstadt being our like special guest. It was just a fabulous show.
Wow, that's awesome. And ELO had some pretty elaborate stage shows, didn't they? They had like the whole spaceship thing where it kind of opened up. I sort of remember something about that.
Yeah, that was a spectacular. That was the best tour we ever did. That was the Out of the Blue tour.
Yeah.
And the stage set was remarkable. It was a time of sort of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I remember we played Anaheim Stadium, and we had Tony Curtis introduce the show.
Uh-huh.
And as he was introducing the band, they hired all these helicopters, and they were parachuting out like stormtroopers. And Tony Curtis is pretending to shoot them down with his machine gun and stuff. Outrageous stuff. Fantastic.
Amazing. So what did you find the fans to be like in the US?
Say again?
The fans that you had. So what was it like? You're 29 and you're touring all these places, and I mean, is it like with Elvis here, or are people passing out? Like, what kind of things are happening there?
Well, it was we obviously started quite small, opening shows for people like Steve Miller Band and whatever. But then we obviously got bigger and bigger, and so to the point where we got people like on some of the Out of the Blue tour. We had like Meatloaf on with us. We had Journey,
Wow.
Foreigner. Big acts. The last big tour we did, '81, we had Hall and Oates on the tour. So it was hard work. It was a good slog, but the crowd reception was always excellent, and we got to meet loads of great people. A lot of beautiful American girls.
Did you
end up marrying one of them, or
No, I didn't know.
So, I guess it's like hard really to imagine, but you opened for the Beatles, prior.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, did you know they were going to be as
Oh
famous
yeah,
as
it
they.
was. Oh yeah, I mean they were that it was Beatlemania. With we had a sort of unenviable job of opening for them. And this place it wasn't that big a place, but there was probably 1,000 people squashed in there. Most of them were girls, and they were screaming. They just wanted the Beatles, really, but they put up with us for a while. And actually, they were really late in arriving because they'd done a double header. They'd been at a different venue before, and they followed on to the one where we were opening for them. And they were very late arriving, and we were only supposed to play about 20 minutes, and we ended up playing about an hour. And normally, half of our set was the first Beatles album. We played and we said we couldn't do any of that stuff. So we ended up throwing in some pretty unusual stuff. And one of the things we did was a version of Take 5, Dave Brubeck record.
Yeah.
And the Beatles had arrived by this time. They were like watching us from the side of the stage. And so I did it, and there's a drum solo in it, and it's in 5/4 time. It's quite tricky. And when we'd finished, this great Paul McCartney come over to me, and I went, "Wow!" He said, "Hey, that was great." He says, "Our drummer could never do that." So I lived on that for a few years.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Wow. So, do you have a favorite ELO song?
I think the Out of the Blue album is very strong, and Mr. Blue Sky has become like an anthem. It was voted in this country. It was the most played song during the lockdown. The COVID period. And I think because it made people feel good.
Well, that must make you feel good to know that your music got people through, like, what a terrible couple of years.
Yeah, in fact, actually, myself and I'm in a band called Quill now, and who I've been in for a few years, and the lead singer is this beautiful lady called Joy, and Joy and I got married 4 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And as we left the church, we played Mr. Blue Sky because it was perfect, and it was a sunny day too.
Awesome! Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. So you're in a band together.
Yeah, we not long ago released a new album called Riding Rainbows, which please take a listen to. We're very, very proud of the album. It's got some good guests on it, some nice orchestrations. And if I can ask any of your listeners to check out www.quilluk.com, you can hear the album and see what the band's all about.
Definitely. So who writes the songs for
myself and Joy, and I've got an excellent lead guitarist, a guy called Lee Evans, and between us we wrote all the tracks on the album. Yeah.
Awesome. So when did you start with songwriting? Has that always been something you were interested in?
Well, I've been fortunate to be in 3 major bands and they all had incredibly good songwriters. With The Move, it was Roy Wood. With ELO, obviously, it was Jeff Lynne. And I also did a couple of years with Black Sabbath. And Tony Iommi basically wrote most of or co-wrote the songs. Did all the guitar riffs. He's an amazing guitar player, and he was best man at the wedding.
Wow, that's awesome. What version of Black Sabbath were you in? Was that pre or post Ozzy or?
Well, it was after Ozzy, and I did 2 American tours and a European tour.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very good lineup. We had Ian Gillan as a lead singer. This was 1983, 84.
Okay.
Ian Gillan from Deep Purple.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Iommi on lead guitar, and Geezer Butler on bass, me on drums. And I really enjoyed my time with Sabbath, because I could play, when you play drums for Black Sabbath, you can. There's a lot of freedom. And I love playing loud. So that suited me great.
So you've had lots of success over the years. I mean, is that something that you imagined when you were younger, like, or is that like, drumming for Black Sabbath? Is that like way beyond anything you ever expected, or?
Yeah, I think it was actually. I think looking back, I think I've had some luck. You need luck as well as talent, and
sure.
That I know some really good musicians who haven't made it. So
right.
You do need some luck.
Yeah.
I was good enough that I would have made a living as a drummer,
Mm-hmm.
but I could have ended up as a session man or something like that. But I got the breaks at the right time.
Yeah.
Performing the move was the main thing, really, and I think there was hundreds and hundreds of musicians around. This is like 1966.
Sure.
Good players in the area where I lived, and the idea was to find the best players and put them together, and I got the job, but I think it could actually at the time it could easily have gone to John Bonham.
Wow.
I think it was between John Bonham and myself who got the gig. And John was a good friend of mine too. Sadly, can't believe he died like in 1980. It's ridiculous.
Right.
But that those are the kind of things that happen. The breaks in life. You're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Was there ever a time when you thought, like, you know what, I'm done, I'm just going to go, become a barista or something, bartender or something like that?
No, not really. I all through the 90s, I went out with a band called ELO Part 2,
mm-hmm.
and we did extensive tours of America, and actually went to some fascinating places all over the world that I'd never been before. We did the whole of South America. We did like Russia, places like that.
Yeah.
And that were good times. But it didn't really work out. We never had any chart success.
Mm-hmm.
But it got me through the 90s. And then I didn't really play for a couple of years. But then I just wanted to play drums again. And so I formed the Bev Bevan band.
Mm-hmm.
Which still exists as well, and then then I really got into touring again, and done loads of British tours with a guy called Jasper Carras, who's a very famous comedian, and it was a show called Stand Up and Rock, and we've been doing that for years and years and years, and Joy's been in that with me as well.
Wow.
And then Quill came along, and it was great to get back in the studio and make albums again. So, as I said before, I just feel privileged that virtually from leaving school to right now, in my 70s, and I'm still doing what I love.
That's awesome. Did you cross paths with Eric Clapton at one point? I thought I read something about that.
Yeah, we in the Move days we used to work quite a lot with Cream.
Uh-huh.
Sort of double headers and things, and we did an awesome tour, British tour, 15-day tour with Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
That was a fabulous show, and It was Jimi Hendrix, The Move, Pink Floyd, and about 3 or 4 other British bands I don't think you would have heard of. That was one of the last great package shows to go out. That was back in '68, I think. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So you said you were friends with John Bonham. Did you practice drums together? I mean, how does that work? Because you're two really good drummers. What did you learn from each other?
Yeah, we did actually. I think John is a bit younger than me. I think he learned from me first.
Okay.
But then I started to learn from he was an awesome drummer. He was a fabulous drummer. So I used to watch him, and what he could do with a single bass drum was pretty remarkable. It's just so sad that he died so young.
Right.
And I'm still quite good friends with Robert Plant, who was John's best pal, and Robert's never really got over losing John Bonham. They were such great mates.
So, who are your 3 favorite drummers? Like, if you had to choose 3, who have?
Well, I think I'd put John Bonham in there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the best.
And a guy that really influenced me, and I don't even know his name at the time, would be Hal Blaine, who played like with the Everly Brothers, and he did most of the Phil Spector recordings.
Yeah.
And I was really influenced by Phil Spector recordings, because when you listen back to them, the drums and the percussion are so big in the mix. So I totally love them.
Mm-hmm.
And
you can say Bev Bevan.
I could just, I can't say that. A guy called Cozy Powell was a great drummer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And he sadly died in a car crash many years ago now.
Yeah.
So
I'm
glad to say that I'm still around.
I was just thinking, you're like the 3rd drummer that we've interviewed on our podcast.
Yeah.
We talked to Frank Mocha he's with Erykah Badu, and he's a drummer for her. And then we just talked to Artemis Pyle, who he was with Skinnerd back in the day.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. And now you.
We love drummers, so.
Well, they're the guys that hold the band together, really. Yeah.
Of course. So what's next for you? With your new band, the Quill? Where do you see that going, and what's the plans?
Yeah, well, of course, this wretched COVID thing has knocked the music industry for 6, and we went 18 months without setting foot on stage, which is unheard of. I never experienced anything like that. But now it seems to be getting a bit more back to normal. So, as I said, not long ago I got married, so we're taking the rest of this year off. But next year, hoping to, we'll go out and put a Quill British tour together for next year. And I'm concentrating on my website. Can I give you my website details and you have a look at?
Okay.
It's www.bevbevanofficial.com. So I'm working on that a lot at the moment, and then we're going to start writing some new songs for another Quill album, I'm sure, for next year maybe.
What's it like being married to your bandmate and writing together?
Well, it was it's something I've never experienced before. Joe and I was married before, and Joe and I met some years ago, and it was difficult. Went through some difficult times, and a lot of the songs on the Riding Rainbows album are reflected in this. A lot of the lyrics are about the hard times we had getting together, and then that finally ended up very happily. And maybe the next album will be a lot happier than this one.
Great. Well, I can't wait to visit the website and hear some of those.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Was there a song, or is there a song that the audience loves but you hate to play?
You can say I don't want to answer that. That's fine. Don't want to shoot yourself in the foot.
No, I don't want to shoot myself. And if I name a song, then people go, "Hey, he doesn't like playing this."
Yeah.
So, but there are songs that I enjoy more than others. Yeah, let's say that. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna say "Sweet Talking Woman" is my favorite, so I'm gonna say that. I love that song. So I hope that's not your.
No, that's fine. And if my favorite, I mean, Jeff Lynne was a wonderful songwriter, and so was Roy Wood, and so is Tony Iommi. So my favorite Roy Wood song would probably be "Blackberry Way," which you may not be familiar with. And my favorite sort of Black Sabbath recording, the one I used to love playing, and we still actually do a version of it with Quill, is "Heaven and Hell."
Oh,
I love that as a Sabbath song.
Yeah.
And probably my favorite Jeff Lynne song is maybe "Telephone Line."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that, I mean, you've worked with lots and lots of different people. I mean, anyone that you missed working with that you'd really like to, or would have liked to?
No. I was very saddened to hear of the recent passing of Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah.
Who worked with. She's such a lovely girl, and it was a pleasure to work with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very sad that that she's no longer with us.
Yeah.
I worked with Bobby Womack once. He wasn't so easy to get along with, but still a great talent. Yeah. And Paul Weller, I've recorded with Paul Weller. He's a fabulous guy.
Yeah.
I'd like to work some more with him. So yeah, I've been very, very lucky to work with some great people.
Any bands that you're listening to from sort of now that you're really impressed with?
I don't make enough effort to listen to new stuff, I must say.
Okay.
I tend, Joe and I listen to people that we've loved for years and years.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I do some album reviews for a Sunday newspaper, so I get sent, new albums, and recently I've been sent stuff from people who've been around a while, but they're still sounding great. There's a new Willie Nelson album.
Uh-huh.
It's terrific. The new Johnny Fiat album, the new Bonnie Raitt album,
mm-hmm.
The last Trisha Yearwood album is excellent. Doobie Brothers. So these are people that have been around a while, and they're still sounding great.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just curious about, you said the Carpenters came to one of your early shows in the U.S. Did you ever hear Karen play the drums?
Only on TV. The reason they came to see us was that Herb Albert brought them to the show, and he just signed them to A&M Records, and the Move was signed to A&M Records. So that's how. And I knew Graham Nash from his days in the Hollies, and he was with Joni Mitchell, and he brought her to the show. So that's how I got to meet her. That was lovely.
Wow.
Someone else who's still around and has been fantastic over the years.
Yeah.
Have you ever been starstruck? Is there anyone that you met that was like your idol or something, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I met this person?
That's good. Yep. We did a tour of Australia once with ELO, and we got invited to a party, and Bob Hope was at the party, and that to meet Bob Hope was wow, like you don't bump into many film stars, and he was such a massive star. Yeah, I was in awe of him. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you've had such an incredible journey so far. I just
and I'm grateful for it, very very much so. As I said, I've lost a lot of good friends along the way. So I'm trying to be positive and hope that all this, the COVID thing, is at an end, and that life gets a bit more back to normal. And I would it'd be lovely to I haven't toured in America or worked in America for so long. Hoping to holiday over there in Florida next year, and who knows, one day maybe we can get Quill over there.
Awesome.
That would be great. Yeah.
All right, Kat, I'm going to give you time for one more question before we let Bev go.
So we have always at the end of our podcast, we've been asking a random question, which may or may not have anything to do with your career. But Matt and I both think of one, and then we let the guests choose if you would like to answer Matt's question or Kat's question. So we'll give you that opportunity. Who would you like the question from?
From you.
Okay. Well, so I'm going to ask you, what is the craziest thing you've ever done in the name of love?
Wow.
See, aren't you sorry you didn't ask for mine?
I should have asked you, shouldn't I? Yeah. Oh wow, I don't think I can answer that.
Okay, well, we'll give you the option of answering Kat's other question.
Okay.
Yes, I have several. So,
the 1 minute one, Kat.
Yeah, so my next one is, if you could relive any 60 seconds of your life every day for the rest of your life, what 60 seconds would you choose?
Well, that's pretty easy, actually. It happened almost exactly 4 weeks ago. 60 seconds in when we were in church, being made, and Joe and I being man and wife.
Aww,
that's awesome.
I love that answer. So, and supposedly you will live that 60 seconds, every day for the rest of your life. So,
yeah,
really awesome story. Thank you for sharing that and answering my question. This has been such a fun interview. I've learned so much history. It's just, again, it's like interviewing music history, and it's such an honor to have you on our show.
Well, that's been my pleasure, and please send me a copy of the podcast. I'd love to hear it.
Definitely. We'll get the link to you. We'll get that sent out through email, and I think this airs, let me take a look and I can tell you what date that we have. Looks like this will be on November 6th. So,
okay.
we'll get you the link on that night. And yeah, we will definitely follow your website, and I want to listen to some of your new music.
Good, that'd be great. Please do.
All right, Bev.
And thank you. Thanks for a fun interview.
Thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate it. And, we look forward to, maybe you'll come back and talk to us again.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, well, you guys have a good day, and we'll speak again.
You too, sir.
Great.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, you can send those to Kat at iwriteplays@outlook.com, or you can write to me at backstorysessions@gmail.com or matt@level11ventures.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.